All right. How's everyone doing? How was your week? Anything interesting? Nothing. Nothing spectacular to report on.
It's been beautiful here in Victoria, BC for a week. It's like 18 degrees and sunny. It's can't complain at all.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So there's a lot of apps that were on graphs that were submitted this time around. Farron, I don't remember specifically you. Did you submit one, or you're mainly observing and giving feedback today?
Yeah, I put out just a simple Sankey diagram.
Oh yeah, you're the one with the Sankey diagram. Nice. Okay, cool. All right, yeah, but let's go over that. Let's do that right now. Let's see. I'm gonna open. Let me open the week 17. There we go. Let me move it so you can see it in the screen. I've let's start, Farron. Let's start with you. What can you share about your Sankey diagram?
Okay. Yeah, shall I present?
You can present. You want me to share screen, or do you want to share screen?
Uh, yeah. Do you have it? Well, do you have it running? I threw it into
Oh
a
yeah.
Dash app at the end and just added a little bit of interactivity.
Do you want me to go into wait? Did you do Pi Cafe? No, right?
No, I just threw
I
the.
hear
Okay,
you
so yeah.
one word at a time.
So Farron, why don't you share your screen, and then you can show us how the interactivity of it.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Can you
let
see
me.
a Sankey diagram there?
Yeah, let me add. Okay, there we go.
All right. Okay. Yeah, so I made a Sankey diagram. I figured I'd just zero in on the continents. I mainly just wanted to have a chance to play around with making a Sankey diagram and figuring out how they work. So this is what I did, and the interactivity I added was basically how the population is presented, or the numbers of migrants are presented. So I have options, which is shown here for just raw, so the scaled by the raw numbers. And you can hover over a node, and it on the left-hand side, it's the departures. On the right-hand side, it's the arrivals. And over the period, this region had 34 million departures. And then if you go over to arrivals, North America saw 56.5 million. So that's kind of interesting from looking at the connections. I put an option in here to add or remove the within continent migration. So if I click show intercontinental, it adjusts, and then you see the Africa to Africa, Asia to Asia. So from one country to the other within the continent. I figured that'd be interesting just for looking at, if you're looking at global migration versus slightly more regional. And then I broke the population numbers down I just normalized them by the population of the continent, and in units of per 100,000 people. So the first most intuitive is to look at the flows per 100,000 people in the origin country. So if we hover now, you get, Latin America and the Caribbean had 5,000 departures per 100,000 people. So about 5% of the population migrated. And this is with the intercontinental off. So is that right? 5%? Yeah, it's a pretty large number. And that's people leaving the continent entirely. And you can see that most of them go to North America. And then looking at the arrivals, it's the same units, so it's 5,000 or 5.7 thousand arrivals per 100,000 people, relative to the continent of origin, which seems kind of weird, but it gives you a sense of kind of the impact from origin continents. And then same thing, but per the destination population. And the idea here is to get a sense of the impact that a continent is having on other continents, or contribution one continent to other continents. And we see here Asia dominates. It's kind of a weird unit because you're summing ratios from different continents and assigning it to to Asia. So I have to think about what this actually means, but it does kind of show you which continent is having the most dominant contribution to other continents.
But fair. So this one specifically, if you hover over Asia again, how would I explicitly interpret these numbers? Is Asia has 18, let's say 19,000 departures per 100,000 people. So that's almost like that's like 20% in the destination continent. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's a weird number. I think it's in this viewing of the data that should be maybe it should just be a ranking, because it's so if we look at an individual link, we see from Asia to North America, 19.7 million people migrated, and that's 5,000 people per 100,000, so 5%.
Did Farron get cut off?
So what's weird is it's adding, those 5,000 per 100 in North America. It might have just had I think I just lost my connection, but yeah, so it probably needs to be hashed out a little bit, but the idea is to try to show which continent is having the greatest migratory influence on the other continents.
Did you learn a lot about the Sankey diagram doing this?
I did, yeah. It took me a while to wrap my head around how to make one with the nodes and the links, but
yeah.
And then I spent way too much time trying to figure out how to colorize things in a way.
Yeah.
But once I got it.
Big conversation about colors with everybody on the channel. Did anything surprise you from what the Sankey diagram was telling you regarding migration? Something you didn't expect to see?
I was pretty surprised that I mean, so I normalized the data to try to weed out, you'd think Asia would have a large number of migrants just because there's, billions of people. But even if you normalize it by the population, you still see a really outsized impact. So that was interesting. I did see that the UN in their summary report had a Sankey diagram that was quite similar to this one, but with better colors. So.
Nice. All right, Farron. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. Is this the first time you're adding the plotly graph into like a Dash app with some controls?
Yeah, I've made Dash apps before. This is the first time, playing around with the Sankey diagram and trying to get that to be interactive. But
I like personally how you kept it simple. There's some radio buttons, there's some show continental now, like a checkbox, and even with that, there's still so much you can learn from your Sankey diagram and those controls.
Yeah, I like that about Marianne's apps. They tend to be simple in controls, but say a lot. So.
Yeah, Marianne is a good example. Yeah. Anybody else have feedback or questions, Mike?
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Just a simple question. Which Dash libraries did you use for this? Is it like Bootstrap components, Mantine, or?
Yeah, it's Bootstrap. So last week I didn't submit anything, but I put a diagram together and then asked AI. I just threw the data set into Claude AI and had it make a Dash app, and it did this theming. So it's
Really?
bootstrap components.
So how
It
much
was
did you have to do on the AI produced code to get it to where you wanted, or was it just ready to run?
Yeah, it had 3 errors. I think it was looking at an older version of Dash. So there are a
I
few
see.
errors that I tracked down pretty quickly and got it. And then it ran. It blew my mind how how comprehensive it was. So I stole the theme for this app.
Yeah, this is a very nice job, and obviously this data set is tailor made for this type of chart. I would say.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you, Farron.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, everyone.
All right. Who else do we have? We have plenty of people that submitted graphs and apps today. Who wants to go next and talk about their experience? Let's see here. Marianne, should I load yours and we'll talk about it? You're on mute.
Should I try to share it?
Yeah, share screen.
Is that present or?
Yeah, do present and then choose your screen, and I'll remove mine.
Share screen. Ik heb maar één monitor. Oei. Deze. Share. Can you see my screen?
1 second, I'm going to add it. Okay, yes, now we see it.
Okay. Well, I wrote something in the thread for this Figure Friday. I first Googled what other people did with these data, and it was an Angular Sankey chart actually, but that was too difficult. And well, I saw all the data and I thought, well, it might be interesting to see if people move countries, to put it that way. If they go and move up from a low-income country to a high-income country, well, or if they move equal, high income to high income, etc. And well, that's when this started to develop. And well, I was specifically interested in countries like Afghanistan. Where do they go? And here you see the bug in action, the orange dot on UK. Well, if you see where people who left Afghanistan now live, you can see they almost all went to red, green countries. That's high income. Or, yeah, see, I make the mistake. I'm tired. I'm sorry. In the card, you can see it's Afghanistan. When you look now, you see that 3.8 people who started their lives in Afghanistan went for another country. And when you look at the profile of the destination countries, you can see they went to high income, upper income, and lower income. Half of them actually to lower income.
But Marianne, I see lower middle income.
Yeah.
There's some small orange dots there on the map, like India and I think it's like Hungary or I can't say. I think it's Hungary in Europe there. Um, but there's only like 3 or 4 countries, right? The majority of the countries they went to are indeed higher income. On the map, if I just look at the map in colors, I see green and blue, mostly green and blue. And then,
It's true,
and then,
but
however, the orange is the biggest. So, but what is that also? Pakistan. So a lot of them moved
almost
from. Okay.
almost 2 million. So that's almost 50% from Afghanistan, and the rest is divided between the other 4 categories.
Oh, so they went to Pakistan, which makes sense because it's a
No, no,
neighboring
no.
country.
They went to
Yeah.
Pakistan.
They
Yeah,
went to Pakistan, which is a neighboring country, so it makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
Interesting.
I'm sorry if I'm a bit chaotic, but I'm really tired. Well, the idea was that you can switch between immigration. Well, people who moved to Afghanistan were, neighbor countries, and not as many, 73K. And when you say, well, how many people left, minus how many people came
Yeah.
to Afghanistan minus how many people left, you can see that when you
Net
look
migration.
purely at migration,
Yeah.
it's a negative of 3.7 million.
Can you hover over the countries whose destination was okay? Uzbekistan,
Uzbekistan, they came from
Tajikistan.
Tajikistan, and from Pakistan.
Pakistan, I would assume, Mariana, like probably Afghan people who just came back to Afghanistan.
That's possible.
I would assume. This is a really cool app.
When you, I was, actually, I talked yesterday to someone, and she said to me, "Well, it would be very interesting to see how these data, because I was a bit confused, but this is a snapshot from July 2024. But these snapshots are available for since 1959, every 5 years. And I
Oh.
don't know if you're interested, but I also can show you a line chart when you look, for instance, at, well, the Netherlands or Syria or Pakistan, how it evolved over time.
Yeah, let's see it.
Yeah?
Of course.
Oh, do it. Okay. Can you see the others? Oh, no.
No.
Share this up.
There we go.
Okay. Can you see it now? This white.
Yeah. So this is a trend of Afghanistan over. Oh no, Netherlands.
Yeah, I will go to Syria. Is an interesting one. Yeah, I've played a lot with this thing. Okay, this is the immigration to Syria. That's starting in 1990 was the first. And then you see a lot of people coming to Syria in 2010. No, people with a foreign nationality living in Syria until 2010. 2013, there was the start of the civil war. And you can see foreigners living in Syria drop.
Yeah.
Very much. And when you look at people leaving, Syrians leaving Syria, you can see it has been very stable. And since 2010, and probably it started here somewhere, it went up to, how much is it? 8 million. Almost
Maria,
9.
Can you show us the same thing for Venezuela?
Yes.
I know Venezuela had been going through hardships as well.
Vanuatu,
no, not that one.
Oh, no. I don't see it.
Oh.
It's not in the list.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Another country you want to see?
I don't know, folks. Do you want to see another country? What country do you want to see that you're curious about in the drop down?
Ukraine.
Ukraine. Okay.
Yeah, I've looked at that this morning. Oh, here it is. Yeah. This is emigration from Ukrainians to abroad. Well, you see. Mm,
Nice.
so it was very stable, actually. And in between July 2020 and 24, it was almost 10 million people. And this is where they went.
Marianne, can you show Japan?
This is emigration from Japan. Oh, India is a nice one.
Oh, 2024 is the highest or from the last, at least in July, from the last 34
Yeah, but
years.
only 1 million people. So
Is that
compared to
in or out of Japan?
this is out of Japan.
Out of Japan.
Yeah. This is into Japan. That's more.
Okay, that's what I expected. Okay.
Yeah.
Why did you expect that, Mike? How can it be more people going into Japan, but also more people leaving Japan?
I don't necessarily understand they're leaving, but going into Japan, and that's a country I'm very familiar with. I know the language, and my wife is from Japan, but they've been undergoing a very aggressive campaign to attract more immigrants because their native population is getting old and they're unable to get enough workers for their factories. So they've been aggressively trying to get immigrants coming in, and they face challenges with the language and things like that. But I can see
Interesting. And I see most of them here are from Marianne. If you leave that lower, I see most of them are the dots are orange. But if you look at what?
Yeah, the most of dots are orange. Yes,
the dots are orange. Like there's more countries, but population-wise, most people from the upper middle income are going to Japan, which I think is like China is the biggest one. Yeah, 139,000. That's why.
India is also an interesting country.
I'd love to see India.
Yeah, this is the last one. This is I haven't tested this very well, so just this morning, find the data and do it. This is immigration to India.
To India.
To India. You see, it's less.
Going down.
Oh, this is going down. But the other one, dat was niet de bedoeling.
From India.
From India to abroad. That's a lot of green countries. And when you look at the snapshot of 2024, last snapshot, our data set, it's really a lot of green.
So 48%, almost 50% are going from India to high income countries.
Yeah, like but that's over 35 years.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that makes sense, though. I mean, Indian people are going for economic opportunities to other countries.
Yeah.
So they would naturally be going to higher income places. They're a very educated population as well. So
I will switch. Let's India. And
that link to the Middle East is interesting too. It looks like quite a lot of people went to like Saudi Arabia, probably, and Qatar. And
where from India? You saying, Farron?
From India. There's a lot of green bullseyes. Just in that Middle Eastern area.
Yeah.
Wait. I gotta say how beautiful this app really is, Marianne. And I look at a lot of slides from companies, and they show you their world footprint. And we got offices in these cities around the world. And you can tell somebody just took like a screenshot on a map and like placed little dots on it. And you'll see like the Vietnam office has a dot over like Thailand or something. And you go, geez, what? It can be done so poorly, but you have it's really brilliant.
Yeah, Marianne, a spectacular app. Keep on surprising us. Really, really good.
Not next week. This took far too much time. The colors of the dots. So.
Wait, what do you mean, Mike?
I would use slightly different words from Adam because we see your apps every week, so I'm no longer surprised by them, but I'm always very impressed by them.
Oh, thank you.
Marianne, one thing, I don't know if it's difficult to add. I don't know how to do it.
Population.
Population, yeah, that's one thing. And the other, like some people, even me, now that I'm more familiar with the topic, I understand it better. But I used to get confused. What is immigration? What's emigration versus immigration? Is one in, one out. So if there's a way to put on the lines just really small arrows. If it's immigration, it's going in. If it's emigration, you're supposed to arrow going out. That can help people immediately understand without having to look up the wording or read the title or whatever.
Yeah, you're so right.
Confusing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Cool. Thank you, Marianne. I hope you get some rest. All right. Who else do we got here? On my screen, I see Alex. I see Harris. Harris is joining us to observe, give some feedback if there's any. And I see also David. David, are you observing feedback, or did you actually create something?
I spent a great deal of time trying to get. So I've looked at migration data before,
Okay.
and my preferred chart is a chord chart. So it's a circle, and you can plot in and out from the sort of ring segments things. So in Dash in the Dash ecology, I guess.
Yeah.
The only thing I could find was in Dash Bio. They have something called circles plots, whatever. So I attempted to adapt that, and as of this morning, I just got to the point where I could get the graph to work, but I didn't have a chance to incorporate it into a.
Wait, but let us see. Can we see it? Can you share a screen? Now I'm excited.
Unfortunately, I don't have it on this computer, and I only have one set of. Wonder if I could sign in.
Yeah, try to sign in. In the meantime, I'll let I think Alex show his out, but. Yeah, see if you can sign in, or if you can't connect it, just maybe share a picture on the forum or a message to me, and then I'll show the picture or whatever. Or the screen.
Yeah, I'll see if I can get something.
Cool.
On my other machine and send it to you. So.
Cool. All right, Alex, we have you. I'm going to share a screen, Alex, so you can talk a little bit about your beautiful app. There we go.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. Perfect.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Adam. Thank you, everyone. Well, basically here, what I wanted to do is on a very basic, a simple chart or dashboard using the one point from origin, the origin of migrant from the destination, and this was basically my main objective here, right? For that's what the reason why I select migrant destination. I don't know, Adam, here that I can see. Can you select, please? Well, here we have a model that basically the model have different ways to select the country or by continent, and specifically some information about the countries here in the immigration goal, no, the origin the people goal. For instance, Aaron here select Africa, and Africa here we have for instance Burkina Faso, Cameroon, and so on and so forth. Many the countries that mainly is interesting how the African people go. Obviously, this data is the total immigration until 2024. So it's interesting. Aaron, could you please call the prima? The idea here was three charts.
What?
One is Sankey diagram that is basically I want to show the immigration flow to, in this case, Côte d'Ivory. I don't know is the exact pronunciation. Sorry. It made it to see exactly this one is for illustration. Let's say a qualitative chart. Even though you can see the population here, I also include a continental origins. Interesting because you can see here in the tree map the amount of people. What is the continent that mainly people come from? If you look, you put here in Africa, for instance, Burkina Faso is represents 64.8 of total people going to Cote d'Ivory, but in this case we can see Africa is 99. If you look, set here, Adam is 100% in Africa. In this case, if you select other country for instance, well, the other chart, show the chart, the bar chart, Adam, please. Sorry, the bar chart to complement. The bar chart here is to complement the key because it's quantitative. Here is more easier to see. Okay, you select another one, Arabia, Saudi Arabia. Okay, Saudi Arabia has is the same, and you see here in the key the road, the bar chart, the amount. And in the order in the tree map, you can see the continent. Asia represents, and maybe for Saudi Arabia, a percentage. Africa, another percentage. So Asia, 80%. Africa, the other 21, almost 20%. On the top, you can see a summary in color about what is the top country, the top origin country, the top 5 concentration people going to this country, in this case, Saudi Arabia, and the total migration until 2024. I was playing around with this app. I said, and basically you can find, you can discover interesting data, insight. For instance, if you select Adam, please, Russia Federation, for instance. In Europe,
Okay, one second. It's just slow. 1 second, Alex.
Okay.
Wait, it didn't choose. 1 second. All
Europe
regions.
or Russian Federation.
Okay.
There. Interesting that the Russian Federation, for instance, have a total of, in my case, I see interesting 7.3 million of total migrants. At the top one are from Ukraine. For me, it was wow. And obviously, well, you can see also.
Alex, does that count like, military incursion? A lot of soldiers entered Ukraine from Russia. I don't know if that counts, but.
Soldiers, you say that?
Yeah, he thinks Mike was just trying to give maybe a reason of why so many. He sees a lot of migration from Ukraine to Russia. This is 2024. Yeah, 2024.
It's 2024. I think that is maybe the I don't know. I am just wondering that the region from Ukraine that is pro-Russia. I don't know. Maybe from Crimea, maybe from the Donbass. I don't know. But for me, was a lot of people from Ukraine, and the main thing. Well, and like this insight, you can discover another insight that is very interesting for me not to know about. What I would like to do the next, for instance, is like Marianne did. says some GDP, for instance, would be very interesting, GDP or any other information regarding economy to see exactly how it can impact, if is exactly is impact this migration. For instance, if you selected Brazil, which I am living here, the amount, as you mentioned, Adam, the amount of you have to Palestine, Brazil, Venezuela. The main immigration here, living here, are from Venezuela. It's
But we also
interesting
have
because in
a
the
lot
region,
coming from Europe, Alex.
of course, but Portugal, principally. Portugal, some from Germany, but they mainly from working from companies here.
Oh, yeah.
Then,
So there's
um,
Mike, what were you saying?
I was gonna say one theory why there's something from Portugal. Portugal and Brazil speak the same language. That may be a factor.
exactly. There are a lot of Brazilian going to Portugal too, but also here a lot of Portuguese have a business, for instance, or they have a close relationship because of the language, as you say.
Yeah.
And also, for instance, my wife is her father are from Portugal, so
Oh, okay.
this is a close relationship. Well, it's basically what I wanted to show. I don't know if you have any question, comment in the community, in the forum, where a lot of very good interactions. Thank you for that. So this is basically what I wanted to. By the way, the Sankey as forum is very difficult to. It's not easy to build something using the same key. You have to take some, for it, and in this case, I select just the top 10 countries in one node, and the destination not only one, in order to see better, to see clearly more clear the differences. It's the third or fourth time that I'm using the Sankey, so it takes time to that. But it's an excellent diagram. I love it. That's all.
Yeah, I really like the Sankey diagram as well, Alex. But it is harder than other graphs like the bar chart or the pie chart to actually set up. And there's many ways. Like Theron played around with it. There's many ways to set it up. Destination, origin, back and forth. It can get pretty interesting. Okay. Any questions for Alex for this app? Any comments or feedback about what you're seeing here? Anything
Alex, just another great app on your part, Alex. That's my only comment. Brilliant work.
Yeah, I really like your aesthetics.
Thank you, Adam.
They always look really clean and complete and
very clean,
homogeneous. I really like it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Florent. Thank you.
Yeah, Alex, I want to echo what Mike and Farron said, especially like how clean this looks, right? It's clear that there's from everything you chose a color theme. So everything is like orangey. It's not like all over the place. It's not like you have a million colors. So it's easy to look at. It's easy to catch attention of the eye. You put this on the left side, so it's very easy. It's the first thing you look at and click on. I like the what do you call these? Like not emojis that you put here. Also here, it's not. Sometimes people will put in cards like a lot of information, like and there's no space. Here it's very clear. You have the title of the card to know what you're looking at. You have a summary I guess a subtitle, which is the main number you want people to look at because it's the biggest one, and then you have like a small summary at the very bottom. So very good with that. And I like the graphs that you chose. It's a very good combination. Like what you pointed out here is very true. Like if you only have the Sankey diagram, cool. So I can look at this and I see, okay, that most people are from Venezuela and then Portugal and Haiti. But it's hard like to see once you go to the smaller ones, like, okay, what's the big difference? What are they like percentage wise? So to that, you added the tree map, and then you added the bar chart, which we can even zoom in a little bit if we wanted to, which we can't do with the Sankey diagram. And by zooming in, we have a better idea, like we limit the y-axis of who comes after who, right? And then the Sankey has the percentages, right? So we know Venezuela is 500,000, but what does that mean? That means 41%. I can't look at this and say it's 41%. I can probably say, it's anywhere from 30 to 50, but I don't know exactly what it is. Here, I can easily go over and look at it and see the percentage. Now, maybe you can add in the hover also if you wanted. You can add percentage. But here you have the continents, which is a great breakdown. Really good job, Alex.
Exactly.
I commend you on this. What I would say is, if I don't know if it's possible with this data set, but I would have loved to see in this data set like immigration, just like Marianne and Alex and Farron showed us, but also to break it down by citizenship. And what I mean by that, what I'm trying to get at is, we saw in Marianne's app a lot of people from Pakistan immigrating to Afghanistan, right? Or a lot of people immigrating to Japan. Are those Afghan citizens or actually immigrating back to Afghanistan? Because I think if we break down by citizenship or residency or non-resident, then we would know, okay, how many people are actually people from the same country going back, right? There's a lot of people in Venezuela right now because of the hardships over the last couple of years that emigrated away from Venezuela. But at a certain point, one would assume that if the country's economy and things improve, a lot of people are going to come back. Well, how do we distinguish that? How do we say, okay, all these people are coming back are actually Venezuelan, or no, they're actually other people from other countries in South America that are having more difficulties? So that would be interesting to see. I don't think I would add anything, Alex, in your... only this. For some reason, I don't know if this is a bug, Alex, or this is how it works. But you see, I can't actually, if I click a country, let's say Russia, it will automatically exit before I actually select. You see that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And also, if I use the search, as you are doing here, you have to erase all these words in order to, it's like I need to add another button, for instance, and set button. In order to fall again to United States. Exactly. It's a
Yeah.
But maybe a callback can solve this issue. But it's exactly.
Well, I think it's what you said, Alex. If you add the button right now, these are I have to look into the code, but these are probably the drop down, for example, is probably like an input. So anytime somebody searches something, this is an input field, right? Everybody searches something and it finds it, it'll automatically trigger the callback and close the modal. But what you want is just to have all of this information, this select or this countries, continents. You want to have them automatically be like states, so they don't trigger the callback. And only when you click on the button submit or select, then it actually selects the country. So. Yeah, you have the good idea of how to do this.
So there is a thing that I was thinking this morning to add. Basically, if you want to use only the searching for search, you have, for instance, if you are going to select Turkey, it's very difficult for some people to write. It's not easy. Code library is not easy. So maybe in the future, I don't know, use let's say a button to translate. For instance, I want to select in Spanish, my native language, or import is another language. Maybe useful because no another country maybe in English, okay, but also if you want to write it down in Spanish, you may exactly. Maybe it's a good thing.
That's a good point, Alex, and maybe like people are not sure how to spell the country, but they know exactly where on the map it is. So you had a nice globe where you can move around. You can select the country on the globe, and that would maybe be an option to select a country.
Ah, it's another. Okay.
Maybe.
Mhm.
All right, Alice, thank you so much for this submission. I feel you're going to have a lot of you're going to really enjoy the
No,
next.
thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
I think you're really going to enjoy the next data set for Figure Friday 18, where it has a lot of different indicators that you can assess within the OECD countries. I posted that like 2 hours ago, but we'll talk about that later. David, were you able to get in?
Yeah, I'll just quickly show you this screenshot. Is a little underwhelming because it's not really finished or anything, but let's see if I can share here. I click present, and then it'll take an image file. Let's see what happens if I do that. See if it shows. Can you guys see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so I struggle with a bunch of stuff in this circles diagram, but really what's supposed to look like is you have this is immigration, so this is people leaving countries. So you have a color, say Europe, and you should end up with chords of the same color pointing to where the people went, right? Where I struggled was you see Oceania here. There's not enough room for the text to go. And I spent many hours and I could not find a way to format that text either radially or anything like that in this. And it just might not be possible in the Circos plot. But I'd be curious if anyone has used the dash bio, if they have a solution for how to handle this other than using abbreviations or whatever. So I didn't solve that one. It took a while to solve the coloring of the chords to get it to match the ring, because the software treats these lines inside as a separate layout from the ones that are around the edge. So you have to kind of synchronize the colors, for example. And I haven't done it.
David, sorry to cut you off, but before you go into the details of your work on this, can we take a step back, please, for people who are wondering, like, what is the name of this diagram? Are you using Plotly Express or Graph Objects for this? And what is it telling us?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. So my goal is to do this in as a Dash app, so it should be interactive when it's done. And what I'm doing is I'm modifying, and I'm not sure if this is centrally maintained by Plotly or if this is a community aspect. I wasn't clear on that when I went to the docs, but Dash Bio is an adaptation of a bunch of plots that are frequently used in biology. Yeah. And this is one that's called Circos, CIRCOS.
Okay.
And it is, I think, normally used to display the relationships between chromosomes. But essentially, it's a chord chart, which is generally used for migration. If you go to the UN or an academic paper that studies migration, you'll see these all over the place, or whatever, as this, right?
What did you say it's called? A chord chart?
Chord chart. CHORD is the way I'm usually used to seeing it.
And what is it telling us if we look, let's say, at Africa?
Yeah. So typically, what you would see is it's a way to plot both movement into the country and out of the country at the same time. Now, the next step that I have to do in making this work, you'll see all of these lines go in at the same place. It shouldn't be that way. I have to just do the math to get these to all spread out, along this arc here, right? So you can see the green, the blue, the beige all come into the same spot. It shouldn't do that. It should be at this point. It should be green beside blue beside beige. And so what you would see is you would see all the colors of all the countries that are coming into Asia, right? So the green one would be people migrating from Oceania into Asia. The blue one would be people migrating from Europe into Asia. The brown from Africa and North America are too close in color, but you have the two browns coming into Asia or whatever. And so you'd be able to follow all the inputs to a region, in this case Asia, and then you could follow the outputs. The same color as Asia would come out, and you can see, there's a chord which is going to go to Africa. There's one that's going to go to North America. There's one that's going to come to Europe. There's one that's going to come to Latin America and the Caribbean, right? So that's the next step for me, is to separate those. But it's really nice, because when you do see it, you see simultaneously the input to a region and the immigration and the emigration, right? At the same time. Whereas with the Sankey, which is also a nice solution, you kind of have to separate in and out across the across the chart. This gives you the relationships between all of them. And I do know that within this package, again, other than handling the label, which I can't find a solution for, and I really would, I'm going to finish this project, so I'm going to use it at some point. So if anybody knows somebody who has used -bio, yeah, send me in their direction, right? Because I'd like to fix this labeling problem or whatever. And the scale around the edge, you can make that any scale you want. In this case, it's essentially in tens of millions of people or whatever. And the relative size of the segments is the relative population. So in the way I've plotted it here, when it's done, if you looked at the whole distance of Asia, this would be the tens of millions of people who either moved into Asia or moved out of Asia in that period of time, right? And you'd be able to relate the scale of this, right? In the final implementation, where I'm going to go is I'm going to let people pick what they want to do in terms of the relationship between. It's going to get too cluttered if you put more than about a half a dozen countries or regions on there.
Yeah.
So the way I envisage someone would use it mostly would be if they wanted to say, pick a half a dozen countries and what's the interrelationship between them in terms of people moving, or one country, say, against these larger continental regions, right? So, I would say that that's probably how people are going to use it, right? More than anything else, right? Stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I can see the advantage of this in the type of information it gives you over like a Sankey diagram.
Yeah, so you can see it's nice because you see when it's working. It's nice because you see it's.
Right.
I have got one page where there's a professor who studies. I forget his name, but I have the link. He goes nuts for these, right? and it's worth going to look at because he even animates them. So you'll actually see these.
Wow.
I don't think he does it in Dash, but he actually animates them, and you'll see them expanding and contracting and moving. The problem is it's kind of overwhelming all at one time, right? Kind of thing. But they are really powerful diagrams for this kind of.
Can I have one comment?
Sure.
This is not underwhelming, by the way. This is very good work. So regarding this point about fitting the names of the regions on here, I mean, I think I would definitely go with an abbreviation, but what you can do is have either a hover or a legend that gives you the full name, and maybe with the abbreviation parentheses, but you just can't control how legend.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. Put the legend in. That would be.
What was the idea, Mike? To add what to the hover?
Well, for example, like this Oceania is broken, right? If you just abbreviated it, let's say it's OC, but you had a hover that would show you the full name of the region with the abbreviation broken out, or you can have a legend, and you can kind of customize how it's displayed. So that's one way. I've struggled with that myself, and fitting. Sometimes you can't fit a long word into a small shape, right? But that's one way to transform it.
I wonder if you could put a text annotation on there as well.
You could. You could add just a little annotation that has the abbreviations, mapped to what the full name is.
Yeah, that would be great. Like it's easy enough. I have found it's easy enough. I can buy a little space, because there is an offset that allows me to put these labels outside these segments. So,
Yeah.
this expanding wedge. So if I'm out by a character or two, I just move them further away a little bit, but it doesn't buy you much, right? Like if it's too tight.
I can't speak for anybody else, but I have never heard of a chord chart before. So you have taught me something very useful. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's I only found out about it within the last year or so, last 2 years or whatever. But as soon as I found them, I love them, right? Other than I say the caveat is, if you go wild, and I would even actually probably restrict my users on the app to the number of segments they could put in. Because if you just said, if you just said, "Oh, give me the whole data set," this would just be nuts. Like it would be.
Yeah.
It gets to beyond anything that's reasonable. So.
Just this, I have to come up with a slide about 3 hours from now.
Oh, yeah.
And this might actually be what I use. It really is a better way than just having circles and arrows pointing back and forth. I really like this.
Yeah.
David, so you have to show us when you're done with it. You have to post it on the forum so we can see the final product.
Hey man, that's a lot of pressure. Sure, I'll do it again. I'll do it again.
Good job. Great job.
Good job.
Thank
All right,
you.
folks. We're over the hour, so I just wanted to share the next. Where is it? Next data. Remove. Add this next data set. So this is week 18. I actually really enjoyed this data set, putting it together. Where OECD put it together, but I put it into this challenge. I built a dumbbell, just a basic dumbbell for this challenge, but which shows us a percentage of people feeling lonely, mainly adolescents to young adults, primary school, secondary school. I took out tertiary, like college, university, but you can see how it's usually the primary, I know it's small, but the primary education in different countries in OECD, I think there's about 20 or something countries, 30 countries, like 12%, 14% of kids reported feeling lonely. And then secondary education, it improves a little bit. Well, in some cases, a lot. But so it's a good opportunity to learn about the dumbbell or to build a dash app or to use a different graph. A lot of the graphs I saw today were actually pretty awesome. But what's cool about it, if you click on the OECD data set, I filtered out in the measure column. That's where all the indicators are, right? So I just filtered out, everything else except for feeling of loneliness. But there's access to green space. So what percentage of the population in the countries, you can choose a year or multiple years, have access to green space? What percentage of the country has adult literacy? I put another example on the forum. There's what percentage of OECD countries experience job strain? There's a lot of people who experience, the survey is to experience job strains. 1 second. I'm just going to go down here to give one last example. Oh, it doesn't. Oh, this is just a sample, so we can't see more. But you would just download this data set onto your computer, and you can see all the other options there. There's pretty interesting things that one can explore. And you can choose 1 year or multiple years. So I hope this will give you a nice opportunity to create pretty cool graphs or apps. Don't be shy. If you just want to create this is perfect. If you just create like David did, there's one graph. There's a lot that we can learn from a very good graph. So you don't have to. We're not looking for people to necessarily create fully fledged dash apps. Although if you can create dash apps like Alex and Marianne, then that's that's pretty cool. Those are very good apps.
I aspire to that.
Yeah, they are inspiring. All right, everybody. Well, thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you next Friday.
Bye bye.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank
Thanks, everyone.
you. Have a nice
Thanks.